Hello, friends, and welcome back to the KFit Show. My name is Kalan Anglos. This is the first real episode of the KFit Show where we're actually going to dive into a fitness concept and talk about it. If you're not familiar with who I am, what the KFit Show is, go back to the previous episode, episode 0. It is titled, What is KFit? It'll tell you exactly what it is, who am I, and why you should tune in. Before we get started, I just wanted to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Graphics FX. Graphics FX in Victoria, British Columbia, a locally owned, family-run business, a great business for anything that you want related to graphics. They do illuminated signs, for your storefront. They do vehicle graphics. They do trade show displays. Any kind of project you have, if you need any graphics or logo design or anything like that, Graphics FX is the place to go. Jay, the owner, is a great guy. He will look after you. Go talk to him. Let him know that I sent you. He probably won't give you anything, but let him know I sent you, and he'll give you a high five maybe or something. But go see Jay at Graphics FX. They're downtown Victoria. Like I said, they gave great service on anything that you need. So go see them for professional quality graphics design. Again, that's Graphics FX in Victoria, British Columbia.
The Orion nav transition is complete.
Hello, my name is Kalan Anglos, and I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist. Sounds pretty good, huh?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
And this is the KFit Show.
5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Yes, hello and welcome again. My name is Kalan Anglos, and you are listening to the KFit Show. And if you've gotten this far, you've made it to, the second episode, but it's really the first real one, then, you're not tired of my voice yet. So that is awesome. And again, this is the first real episode that we're putting through on the KFit Show. So what the kind of concept is, I want to give one fitness-related concept and then relate it to training or performance. And I want to do this every week. I want to bring you guys something new. Next week, we have a interview lined up, a talk, more of a discussion, not really an interview, with a nutritionist who I'll tell you a little bit at the end of this show here. Today, though, what I want to talk about, today's episode is all about muscles. Muscle fiber types, and how it relates to performance. What are the different fiber types? What do they mean? What makes them, fast or slow or not quite fast or whatever it is? And how can we train and use that to perform better in sport or just in our everyday workout? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just a little bit of disclaimer before we get started. For anybody who knows the kind of scientific background of kinesiology or whatever, sometimes it can get pretty in-depth and it can get kind of confusing sometimes for somebody who's not in that world. So I'm going to try and not get too technical or scientific, which is actually kind of something that I struggle with sometimes is getting too much into the detail, and sometimes people don't really understand exactly what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to try and not get too scientific, too technical. And actually, when we have our producer, Owen, who's going to be coming in a couple of weeks, he's going to be kind of in charge of making sure that I don't get too carried away. But he's not here this week, so you're stuck with just me. So hopefully I don't get too carried away on definitions or concepts, and you don't get too confused. And hopefully I can clear it up a little bit. And I think I can, so that's good. So again, today we're talking about the muscular system, and the muscular system independently from every other system that you have in your body. You have lots of different energy systems and lots of different systems that are in use in your body at one time. But I just want to relate today's talk to the muscular system and not, the nervous system or any of the neural input that's coming in from the central nervous system to your muscles, the action potentials, all those kind of neural inputs that get put to the muscle. I'm not going to talk too much about that specifically. I'm just going to talk about the muscles and how they play a role. So hopefully, again, we don't get too carried away. So with that, I just want to dive right into today's show. And again, it's muscles we're looking at, and that's what we're going for. So first thing you need to know about muscles, and I'm sure you guys have heard this before, is that your muscles are made up of muscle fibers, which are just little cylindrical muscle fibers that make up all these little parts that make your muscles contract. And a bunch of those put together gives you a muscle, gives you a bicep, gives you a quadricep, whatever. So muscle fibers are kind of what we're looking at, which are those individual fibers within a whole muscle. Okay, so we're talking about a whole muscle, and the little parts of those muscles are a bunch of different muscle fibers. Those specific muscle fibers have a spectrum from they're very, very slow muscles to very, very fast muscles. Now, they have a little bit more specific names, but I'm sure you've heard of that before. Fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. And there is a difference between the two, and we're going to talk all about that. You might hear, if you're reading online or if you're reading in the literature or somebody else, refer to them as type 1 or type 2 muscle fibers. It's the same thing. In fact, there's lots of different names for slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers, which again makes it really confusing. A lot of the stuff in the fitness world, there's terms that are used in a variety of different ways, some incorrect, some mostly correct, right? So it is a little bit confusing, but the type 1 fibers are your slow twitch fibers, which, contract slowly. Makes sense, right? I'll talk about what that means in a sec. And then your type 2 fibers are your fast fibers. So they're very quick to contract, and they produce a lot of force. Now, there's other levels kind of within that. There's type 2, which is the fast twitch, type 2A and type 2B, which basically just means fast and even more fast type thing. So we're not going to get too carried away with the different definitions. I just want you to know that there's fast twitch muscle fibers and slow twitch muscle fibers, and every muscle in your body is a spectrum of each. So it's not that one's fast, one's slow. One might be very slow, one might be, kind of slow, one might be sloth slow, whatever. And the same thing for the fast. So it's a spectrum from very slow to very fast. And those muscle fibers are like that in any given muscle. Okay, so if you look at a bicep, if you look at a quadricep, calf muscle, whatever it is, you'll have fast twitch, you'll have slow twitch, and everything in between. So your muscles aren't specifically fast twitch or slow twitch. They're actually a variety of different muscle fibers. And we know that because we can actually look at a muscle fiber underneath the microscope, and we can see that they're fast twitch and they're slow twitch. There are certain properties to both fast twitch and slow twitch which makes them fast and which makes them slow. So why is that important? It's important for performance. If you're an athlete or somebody who's at the gym who wants to develop their power, who wants to be very fast and very powerful, you're going to want to train those fast twitch muscle fibers. And likewise, if you're an endurance runner, or if you're somebody who's, maybe trying to lose weight, or somebody who's not too worried about the power development, you're going to want to train in a way that utilizes your slow twitch muscle fibers. Okay, so that's important. It's important to know the different muscle fibers and how to perform and relate that to what you're doing in the gym. So what makes these fast twitch muscle fibers fast, and what makes the slow twitch muscle fibers slow? Well, there's certain properties in the muscle, and again, I'm not going to get too scientific on these, that makes them fast or slow. So, for example, and let's not try and get too carried away here. Fast twitch muscle fibers are what's called anaerobic. You've probably heard that before. And all that means is that they do not require oxygen to contract. So because of that, because they don't need oxygen, they rely on other energy sources like, glucose, sugar in your actual muscles, gets stored in your muscles. We use that. Or creatine, which actually we're going to talk about next week as a supplement. So tune in next week to talk about creatine. But glucose and creatine and other things like that are more predominant in fast twitch muscle fibers. And we use those to contract fast twitch muscle fibers, and it happens quick. It happens very, very fast when we relate it to slow twitch muscle fibers, which use oxygen. So slow twitch muscle fibers are aerobic. Okay, so fast twitch muscle fibers, anaerobic, they do not require oxygen. Slow twitch muscle fibers are aerobic, which means they do require oxygen to contract. And therefore, because they require oxygen, that whole process just takes longer. and therefore it takes longer for those muscles to contract for reasons, again, we can get pretty deep, but your muscles, your slow twitch, well, all muscles actually have, mitochondria, which are kind of like the fuel cells of the muscle, which really create the energy. Also myoglobin, which is the oxygen carrying molecule in the muscle, so it actually takes the oxygen and brings it to the muscles. That is more prevalent in slow twitch muscle fibers. So again, don't get too carried away with it. Just know that there's slow twitch muscle fibers, fast twitch muscle fibers, a range of each in each muscle, and there's certain properties in those muscles that make them either slow or fast. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Also, just so you know, usually fast twitch muscle fibers are the larger muscles in your body. So you actually have, I don't need to get too carried away. You actually have more properties in them that make them contract, so they're larger. So if you look at large muscles like the quadricep or the chest muscles, those are usually large muscles, and they have large fast twitch muscle fibers, which usually equals more force. Force is a little bit different too because it relies on other things like biomechanics and that kind of stuff. So we're not going to get too worried about that. So right now, what do we know? We know we have slow twitch, fast twitch, and the speed at which they contract changes depending on what type of muscle fiber they are. However, these same properties that are in the muscle not only relate to how fast the muscle contracts, how fast they can generate force, but also how quickly they fatigue. So when we're talking about fatigue, we're basically talking about when the muscle can no longer produce a large amount of force or whatever force is needed. And the different muscle fibers, slow twitch and fast twitch, also have different fatigue rates as well. So if we look back at the slow twitch muscle fibers, now we know those are aerobic. So again, those require oxygen and they take longer to contract. However, because they're using oxygen, and you always kind of have that constant stream of oxygen as long as you're breathing, because you always have that oxygen coming into the system, although the slow twitch muscle fibers are slower and take longer to contract, they actually fatigue slower. It takes them quite a while relatively to fatigue, and therefore they can actually be used longer. So you can use the slow twitch muscle fibers at a longer rate. So that's why if you're an endurance runner or somebody who performs in an aerobic sport, the slow twitch muscle fibers should be trained to be, as slow as they need to be for your performance, because you want them to be able to last for as long as you can, especially if the goal is to go as long as you can, like a marathon or whatever. You want those slow twitch muscle fibers to do that. So they fatigue slower. They can actually last a lot longer, the slow twitch muscle fibers. If we relate that to the fast twitch muscle fibers, so we know the fast twitch muscle fibers are anaerobic, they don't require oxygen, and therefore they contract quicker. And they actually produce more force as well. So your quicker muscle fibers are your fast twitch. They create more force, but they fatigue a lot faster as well when we compare them to the slow twitch muscle fibers. And again, this is just because they don't have that constant stream of oxygen. The fast twitch muscle fibers, like I said before, are relying on your glucose stores or your glycogen stores in the muscle, as well as creatine to make those contractions happen. And you have you have much smaller amount of that in your muscles than you do having oxygen come into your system. So because of that, the fast twitch muscle fibers fatigue very quickly. So that's why, I really like relating this to hockey players, which are great, because anybody who plays hockey, or if you watch hockey, or maybe you just know, hockey players are usually on the ice. For what a shift is, maybe 40 seconds to a minute and a half at most. Like, that's a long shift, a minute and a half to 2 minutes. That's pushing it, right? So we know as exercise professionals that under 2 minutes is the anaerobic area for the most part. You're always kind of a little bit aerobic or a little bit anaerobic, but it's mostly anaerobic under that 2 minute period. So we know that they're using the fast twitch muscle fibers because it's anaerobic. We're not using the oxygen. So for those type of athletes, they need to train their muscles for, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever their performance is, as fast and as strong as they can to really kind of build up those large, fast twitch muscle fibers, because that's what you want. So really what I'm trying to say here is you want to train the muscles exactly how you want to perform. or if you want to, whatever your goals are. Whatever your goals are, relate that to how you're training your muscles. Do you want to train the fast twitch muscle fibers for those fast bursts like in hockey, basketball, soccer? Those are all more anaerobic sports, believe it or not, martial arts as well. These type of athletes should be asking themselves, am I training the type of muscle fibers that I should be? Now, it's important to know too that you should be training both fast twitch and slow twitch, as well as aerobically and anaerobically, all that kind of stuff. You should be training both. You shouldn't just focus on one, because the properties of one can help the properties of another, muscle fiber or muscle group. So you do want to be training both of those when you're in the gym. You should also be training those. There is a proper way to train them. Usually you want to train the fast twitch anaerobic muscles or energy systems first in your workout, and then, later at the end of your workout is usually when you start to, or you want to use your aerobic system and your slow twitch muscle fibers more. And that just makes sense, because if you think about it, we know now that the fast twitch muscle fibers fatigue quicker. And another important point actually on this is that you're always using both fast twitch and slow twitch. Remember when I said earlier that your muscles are made up of a range of slow to fast. So inside each muscle group, you're going to be using your fast twitch and your slow twitch. It's just a question of, what are you using more of? What are you trying to get more out of it? So you should be training both, and you should be training them properly. So just basically ask yourself what type of athlete you are, what is your goal, and then ask yourself if you're training your muscles in the appropriate way. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a power athlete and somebody who wants to really get those fast twitch muscle fibers firing, produce a lot of force, but we know fatigue's a lot quicker, you want to train those fast twitch muscle fibers by using exercises that utilize quick movements. So yesterday, actually, on the KFit Conditioning Facebook page, I posted a really good article on the difference between strength and power. That actually relates right to this, because power is more quick movements, strength is more slow type of movements. So if you're a power athlete and you want to train power in your fast twitch muscle fibers, you should be doing quick exercises like box jumps are great to utilize the fast twitch muscle fibers, as well as squat jumps, very similar to a squat, but you're not going as heavy and you're jumping at the top to try and get as much force as you can doing that. And you should be really kind of living in the 2 to 6 rep range for each exercise. 10 is pushing it quite a bit for power athletes and for fast twitch muscle fibers. So whatever exercise you're doing, keep it less than 10 reps. 2 to 6 seems to be kind of the gold zone there for power development. Other ways to do it too is sprints. Sprints are a great way to develop your lower body power, or quick movements. Even the bench press actually for the chest can be done. If you're a martial arts athlete, a combat sports athlete, a shot putter, anybody who's using your chest to push something and you need to do it very fast and very powerful, doing a bench press at a lower weight than what your maximum weight is, so your 1 rep max, doing a lower weight and doing them nice and fast. That's going to help develop those fast twitch muscle fibers. If you're a slow twitch athlete or somebody who wants to burn more fat, because we know that slow twitch muscle fibers and aerobic metabolism require fat. So if you're using those muscle fibers and working more aerobically, you are actually burning more fat. That is true in the muscle, So there's that. But if you're those type of athletes or those type of individuals, then you want to do your cardio or your muscular training using slow twitch muscle fibers by doing nice and slow, controlled contractions and doing, for endurance, lots of different reps. So you're looking at about 15 plus reps is a good kind of place to live for that, for your slow twitch muscle fibers. And same thing if you're doing your cardio training as well. You're going to want to actually train that, go for a run at about 60 to 70% of your heart rate max. Do that, for a while. Do it for as long as you can to try and train those slow twitch muscle fibers. So what you're actually doing when you're training the fast twitch muscle fibers is you're training them to be more fast and not fatigue so quickly, because ideally you want them to be as fast as they can for as long as they can. The slow twitch muscle fibers, what you're trying to do is just basically make sure that they're at their greatest potential as a slow twitch muscle fibers, and that they can do that for a long period of time, or, however long you need it to happen. So just kind of keep doing that, keep moving that forward. So again, just to kind of summarize everything we just talked about, I know I'm kind of hammering it home, I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but it is very important. Fast twitch muscle fibers contract quickly, create more force, but also fatigue quicker. Slow twitch muscle fibers produce less force, but they can do so for a longer period of time. So figure out what type of athlete you are, what type of individual you are, how do you want to train, and then train in the appropriate way. Now, there is something that you can do as well where you are training both fast and slow twitch muscle fibers. And this is something that I really like to do with a lot of the people I train and a lot of the athletes that I work with, where I want them to really utilize all their muscle fibers in whatever muscle we're working. So let's just use an example. Let's just use the chest for an example. Okay, I really want them to use, because we know that there's a variety of muscles in there from slow to fast. I want them to really use all their muscles in that. And this is especially important if you're just going to the gym for fitness purposes. You just want to get more fit, more conditioned, look better, whatever. You want to make sure you're using all of those muscle fibers, not just the fast twitch and not just the slow twitch muscle fibers. You really want to use all of them. And even if you are an elite athlete, you are using all those all those muscle fibers in your performance. So you really want to train them all. So a good way to do it, going back to our chest example, do a chest press or a bench press with a dumbbell or a barbell. Do it, 10, 12 reps, whatever it is, slow and controlled, really working in your slow twitch strength muscles. And then as soon as you're done that, drop into a push-up position and just pound out as many push-ups as fast as you can. So you're going from your slow twitch muscle fibers to your fast twitch muscle fibers, and you're really just pumping them out. So now you're using all the muscle fibers in your chest in this case. Same thing with your legs. If you want to train both, do a nice slow controlled squat for 8 to 12 reps, whatever it is, really working on your hypertrophy, your muscle growth. As soon as you're done that, put the bar back and start doing some squat jumps. So just some body squat jumps where you're doing them as fast as you can and really trying to get those muscle fibers, the fast twitch muscle fibers, all fired up. So there is a way to train both. So really you just have to go back and ask yourself, what is my goal? What do I want to do? What type of muscle fibers do I really want to build up? What do I really want to make my purpose, and what do I really want them to do? So make sure you ask yourself that. And then train accordingly. So hopefully that helps you guys out a little bit. A little bit more on the muscle fibers themselves. So what I also want to do each week is I want to answer any questions that you guys have. And this is perfect because I got a question earlier this week that relates to muscle fibers. So the muscle fibers itself, and a common question that you hear is, can you change a fast twitch muscle fiber to a slow twitch muscle fiber, or vice versa, a slow twitch muscle fiber to a fast twitch muscle fiber? And despite what people say, or despite what you might read, unfortunately, no. You cannot change a fast twitch muscle fiber, so the type 2 anaerobic muscles, to a slow twitch muscle fiber, a type 1 muscle fiber. You can't do it. What you can do is you can make your fast twitch muscle fibers more fast by training them appropriately, like we've discussed, or you can make your slow twitch muscle fibers more slow. Well, you might be asking yourself, why would I want slower muscle fibers? Well, again, if you're an endurance athlete and you want those muscles to last longer, then you want to train them so that the slow twitch are more slow. All those little properties that we talked about kind of at the beginning that are in the muscle fibers themselves, by training the fast twitch muscle fibers or training the slow twitch muscle fibers, you can utilize those properties to whatever potential you want them to be. So again, you cannot change a fast to a slow. You cannot change a slow to a fast, but you can change the properties in them to be more slow or more fast, whatever it is you want them to do. And really, unfortunately, you can thank your parents for this, I guess, but what decides how much fast and slow twitch muscle fibers you have is your genetics. So it really is your genetics. And that's why we can look at a young athlete, who's coming up. Maybe they want to be an elite athlete, go to the Olympics, go to the NHL, whatever it is. We can look at those athletes. We can do some tests on their muscles to actually see how much slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers that they have due to their genetics. And we can say, well, maybe you shouldn't be a hockey athlete because you have mostly slow twitch muscle fibers. Get on the track, go for a run, right? So that kind of thing. And unfortunately, you might say, well, that's going to be crushing kids' dreams or whatever. In certain countries, European countries especially, if they take their elite athletes very seriously, they will do that kind of test and look at a young, 10-year-old, 11-year-old's muscle fibers, look at what they have genetically, and they'll kind of push them into the athletic endeavor that is best for their genetic makeup. And it's, if you want to be an elite athlete, and again, at that young age, it's really an ethical issue, not so much an ethical issue, but it's an issue of should you really be getting them into elite sports or thinking that way. But all the top level athletes that you see now, trained at a very young age, and they kind of decided at a very young age that they wanted to be an elite athlete. So it's not necessarily a bad idea to look at a young athlete, see what type of muscle fibers they have, and you can even do simple tests to determine that, simple field-based tests to determine that, and then kind of push them in that direction. So again, do whatever you want. This isn't the parental elite athlete podcast, but that's just a couple things that you can consider when you're talking about the muscle fibers that you have, and as well as when you're looking at children. So there it is. There is everything you need to know basically about muscle fibers and force development and everything that they do. If you guys have any questions on that, feel free to send me a question through the Facebook page, through my email, kalananglos@gmail.com. Wherever you want to try and find me, ask me a question, and because like I said, this should be a conversation. I really want things to come to you guys. I want you guys to come bring things to me. Did you think of this? Can we discuss that? What does this mean? Absolutely. Ask me those questions, and if I can't answer them, I will absolutely find out, because I can promise you if I don't know, I know where to find out. So I can absolutely find out everything that you guys bring to me. So that's great. Ask me some questions and we'll go from there. From now, I have a question for you guys. So if you weren't paying attention, pay attention now. This is for us, Easter is coming up this weekend. This podcast comes out on April 12th, Wednesday morning, as every KFit Show podcast will. And this weekend is Easter, so you guys are going to be going home to your families, I'm sure. And, what's the common Easter dinner? It's turkey, right? Well, based off what we discussed today, if you look at a turkey, the turkey meat when you cut it up, ask yourself, are you a dark meat person or are you a light meat person? Personally, I like both, but I am more so a dark meat person. So earlier in this episode, I discussed something in the muscle that might actually affect if it's a dark or light color. And those dark and light meats are the fast twitch and the slow twitch muscle fibers. You are eating fast or slow twitch muscles when you eat dark or light meat. So my question for you is, which is fast and which is slow? Is white fast or slow, or is the dark meat fast or slow? Okay, so you guys find out. Let me know what type of turkey meat is fast twitch, what type of turkey meat is slow twitch, and bonus question, you'll get some KFit brownie points for this one, but why? Why is it dark? Why is it white? Why is it dark or white? You'll be able to find the answer a little bit better if you look at the dark meat specifically. So is the dark meat slow twitch or fast twitch? Why is it dark? What of those properties that we discussed earlier in the muscles makes the dark meat dark? Okay, so there it is. That's my question to you guys, an Easter-based question on this first KFit show. And again, guys, thank you very much for tuning in, sending me all your good comments, asking me your questions. I really, really appreciate it. Again, these are going to come out every Wednesday morning. I'm going to try and keep it to within 30 minutes if I can. They might go longer. And we're going to see where this goes. This might even evolve. I've already had enough topics come to me that I could almost have 2 episodes a week or maybe even 3. So we're going to start with 1 a week now, and then we were going to build it out from there. Again, thanks so much for listening, guys. My name is Kalan Anglos. If you can't find me, I'm on all the social media stuff, just at Kalan Anglos, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all that stuff. Find me, follow me, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Next week, episode 2 of the KFit Show, we are going to be joined by a nutritionist, an actual nutritionist. And we're going to talk about it on next week's episode of what that means, a nutritionist, and why maybe somebody that is a nutritionist might not actually be a nutritionist. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But next week, we are joined by an actual real nutritionist. We're going to talk all about supplements and what supplements you should or maybe should not be taking, and maybe some myths that are in the research out there, or that are in the fitness world out there. So tune in next week to the KFit Show, talking to nutrition. This is episode 1 in the books. Muscle fibers, we are all in there. Ask me any questions you guys want, and we'll go from there. This is the KFit Show. I'm Kalan Anglos. Thanks again for tuning in, you guys, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Bye.